You called your bank last week, or your airline, or your phone company, and somewhere in the first 30 seconds, you did the thing everybody does. You pressed 0, or you said operator or representative a little louder than you meant to. Hold on to that call for a minute, because last year a bank counted it, and the number it found was the opposite of the one it had already decided on. That bank had already made a decision about 45 people. I want to walk you through how that decision got made, because the mistake inside it is very easy to make. Let's be fair to the machine first. A voice bot is very good at one particular sort of call. Checking a balance, resetting a card, telling you whether a payment cleared. Those calls are short, they're nearly identical, and a bot answers them instantly at 3 in the morning. And that's a real win, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Neither did the bank, but hold on to that because it matters at the end. In July of 2025, the Commonwealth Bank of Australia cut 45 customer service roles. It's the biggest bank in the country, and it was the first bank in Australia to say out loud that the reason was artificial intelligence. They'd put a voice bot on the inbound line in June. A month later, 45 jobs were gone. The bank's stated reason was that the bot had brought call volumes down. Now, I want to slow down here because this next part is not really about banks. It's about a number. When you put a bot on the phone line, the vendor gives you a scoreboard. The number everybody watches is called containment. Containment is the share of calls the bot finished on its own without passing anyone to a human. So picture 1,000 calls coming in on a Tuesday. The bot closes 600 of them by itself. That's 60% containment, and that's a genuinely good result. 400 calls still reach a person. Before the bot, it was 1,000. On paper, your call center just got 60% smaller. And that's the arithmetic the whole industry runs on. And it's measuring the bot. It's not measuring the work. Nobody in this story invented that number to be dishonest. Containment is what the vendor reports. It's what goes on the quarterly slide. It's the honest output of the system everybody bought. Now, think about which 600 the bot actually closed. It closed the easy ones. Balance checks, card resets, payment queries, 2 minutes each, and then they're done. So what's left for a human isn't a smaller version of the old job. It's a different job entirely. What reaches a person now is everything the bot couldn't close. The complicated ones, the ones with a fraud problem attached, the ones where somebody's already annoyed because they've just spent 4 minutes talking to a machine that couldn't help them. Support teams have a word for the pile that's left over. They call it the residue. That residue is slow. The easy calls used to balance out the hard ones across a shift. Take the easy ones away, and every single call your team takes is a long one. So those 400 calls might take more human hours than the original 1,000 did. Same team, harder day, and nothing on the scoreboard moved. And there's a second thing happening, and it's the one people miss. The bot doesn't lose the call it can't finish. It hands it back. Some of those callers don't wait in the queue. They hang up and try again in an hour. So one failed contact becomes 2 contacts, sometimes 3. Put those together and you get something that sounds impossible. The bot handles more calls than it ever has, and the humans get busier. And that's exactly what happened. After that voice bot went live, call volumes at the bank went up. Not down, up. Staff were being offered overtime to cope with it. Team leaders were pulled off their own work and put back on the phones. That account comes from the finance sector union, which represents those workers. They're an interested party here, so take their version as their version. The bank's own version is coming. And on the part that matters, the two agree. So for about 6 weeks, two things were true at the same time. The bot was performing beautifully, and the floor was underwater. Only one of those things had a number attached to it. Containment goes in a monthly pack and gets shown to executives. There's no dashboard anywhere called residue. And this is the trap. It has nothing to do with how good the model is. The bot did its job. Somebody measured the wrong half of the system. And you can now see how it happens. The people reading the scoreboard aren't the people taking the calls. The scoreboard is completely accurate about the one thing it measures. Here's the step that turns a measurement problem into a people problem. Somebody took the containment number and forecast how many humans would be needed once the bot had settled in. Then they made the 45 roles redundant on the strength of that forecast. That was one judgment made once about the future, and nothing sat between the prediction and the redundancy letters. And the information that would have caught it was inside the building the whole time. The people answering the calls knew the volumes were climbing. They were living it. They were the ones being asked to work the extra hours. What they couldn't get was the data. The union asked the bank for the call volume numbers repeatedly. The bank wouldn't hand them over. So they lodged a dispute at the Fair Work Commission, which is Australia's workplace tribunal. And I want to be precise here because this story usually gets told wrong. The tribunal never ruled on it. A hearing was listed for the 25th of August, and the bank moved 5 days before it. On the 20th of August, the Commonwealth Bank took all 45 redundancies back. It apologized to the staff. It said the roles weren't redundant after all, and in writing, it called its own decision an error. Its words were that it had not adequately considered all relevant business considerations. It should have been more thorough, it said, in assessing the roles it required. Management accepted it hadn't allowed for the rise in calls continuing over a number of months. The bank kept the voice bot. It's still running today, and that's the whole point. The tool was never what went wrong. It would be easy to file that as a happy ending. I don't think it is. Some of those 45 had been at the bank for decades. For 6 weeks, their job had been publicly handed to a machine, and they were working overtime to cover the calls that the machine was generating. The redundancies weren't simply canceled either. Staff could stay or move to another role or still take the exit payment and leave. Some of them will have left. The union's line afterwards was that the damage was already done, and I think that's right. Some scale for that. This is a bank that posted a record cash profit of $10.25 billion in the same financial year. Those 45 roles were never a rounding error to the people who were in them. It was close to one for everybody else. Now, that's a big story because of the scale, but the same shape turns up somewhere much smaller. In April of 2025, people using a coding tool called Cursor started getting logged out whenever they switched between computers. Annoying, but not dramatic. So they emailed support and asked what had changed. Support wrote back and told them the company had a one device per subscription policy. Switching machines wasn't allowed anymore. People canceled publicly and in numbers and said that was the reason. There was no such policy. There never had been. A frontline support bot invented it, described it as a core security feature, and then sent it out over email. The co-founder had to go online and say none of it was true. Nobody at that company ever decided to announce a new policy. A machine was handed enough authority to state one, and so it did. That leaves the question of who actually owns what the bot says. A Canadian tribunal answered that one in 2024. A man called Jake Moffitt was flying to his grandmother's funeral. He asked Air Canada's chatbot about bereavement fares. The bot told him he could book now and claim the discount back within 90 days. That wasn't the policy. He booked the full fare, applied for the refund, and the airline refused him. So it went in front of a tribunal, and Air Canada's defense was that its chatbot was a separate legal entity responsible for its own actions. The tribunal didn't accept it. The ruling says it makes no difference whether the information comes from a static page or a chatbot. The company is responsible either way. He got his money. So if you're anywhere near one of these decisions, there's one number I'd want before I signed anything. Not the containment rate. Ask what happened to the average handling time on the calls that still reach a person. If that number went up, your team is doing harder work than it was before. The headline figure will never show you that. It's a 4-minute question, and it's the one nobody asked for 6 weeks. I'd like to hear from you on this one. If you've watched an automation land where you work, I'm curious what the dashboard said it did and what it felt like on the floor. Those two things are often a long way apart, and the gap is where all the interesting stuff lives. Hey, if this was useful, my book, Founders Who Finish, is at davesaunders.net, along with my newsletter, The Build, and subscribing here helps more than you'd think.